What's up, everybody? We're back.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to A Metalhead's Journey. Hey, hopefully you guys have checked out our entire top 50 metal albums list of all time. Most of it has been on this channel. Admittedly, some of it is on our old channel. If you want to check out some of those reviews, that's on Three Guys and a Mic. You can find that stuff there. But we actually made it through the whole list. I hope you listened to the whole thing before you came here, because tonight we're actually going to do a top 50 recap. So we're going to take an opportunity to talk about, why did we do the list? Where did it come from? How did it impact us? All that kind of good stuff. We really wanted to take the opportunity because, this is a long list. We did 50 albums. So we really wanted to take a second to talk about, what the list meant to us and, give some fun categories out there. So, initially, we really wanted to do the Metalhead's Journey. It came about because we've all been kind of diehard Metallica fans over the years. And traditionally, if you're a diehard Metallica fan, that means you're not a Megadeth fan. That's just kind of how it works. And so we thought, you know what? We should really just check out what Megadeth has to offer. And so that was the first thing we did on the Metalhead's Journey. Jason wasn't with us then. He didn't want to do the Megadeth one. But we went through and did all 15, then 15. Now it's 16 albums. But we did, at the time, did all 15 Megadeth albums. And, dude, we were blown away by, we thought we knew what Megadeth was going to be. And we had no idea. And it was such a cool experience.
Jason.
So we thought, So we thought, why don't we expand it? So we expanded it to doing all the top four bands, all the big four thrash bands. Because same thing, we hadn't really given a ton of love to Slayer or Anthrax historically. And again, look, ups and downs through those, but we found, I think we can all agree, we found probably 4 or 5 albums amongst all those. I'm just talking about Anthrax and Slayer at this point, that we'll listen to forever. There's some fucking bangers in there, right? That we were just not even paying attention to. So we thought, why don't we expand this and do the top 50 metal albums list? So Dave, why don't you give us an idea of how did you put that list together for us?
So, without boring anybody too much, I'll just go super fast, or as fast as I can, which is probably still slow. So, I pulled a lot of different sites, a lot of different metal sites, a lot of different metal publications. Just to name a few, like Sputnik Music, Metal Storm, Rolling Stone's top 100 metal albums list that they had, and several other sources, about 8 or 9 altogether, and built a comprehensive list and ranked each one based on whatever those sources had. And then as long as an album showed up on at least 5, they made the cut of those sources, and then put that in order. Got a top 50, and that's where we were at, right? So this is as general consensus as I could make it by pulling from some major sources here. So a lot of the typical song or albums that I was not surprised to see, but there was definitely, and I think I could speak for all of us, there was plenty of albums on here that none of us had heard.
Big time, yeah.
Probably well over half of them for each of us. Jason probably 40 of these albums he hadn't heard. We tease Jason, but we love him anyway. So yeah, a lot of albums on this list that we hadn't heard, and we realized, you know what, we are not doing ourselves justice here at all, and we probably don't know nearly as much about metal as we had thought. Going into this.
And listen, if you're out there thinking right now, plenty of people have already called us metalheads. Giving us the quotes. So look, we're that's why we're on this journey. We're learning.
Yeah. So as far as I was concerned, I was really excited to hit this list right from the beginning, and I would say I've learned quite a bit afterwards. So it's really exciting to go through it.
Well, why don't you just go ahead and just kick us off here? We just wanted to take a minute to have a couple of general statements. And just a little conversation around, what did the list, I don't know if this is the right phrasing of it, but, what did the list mean to you? How did it impact you? What did you learn from it? What are you taking away from this experience?
Well, just to kind of piggyback on myself here and expand a little bit on what I said, this list really taught me how much I didn't know about metal and how I think I really thought I understood a lot of the bands, or like a lot of the important albums I thought I was really familiar with. And I quickly realized that I wasn't. There were some bands in here, not to spoil anything specifically, but there was some bands here that I had heard of by name, but until going through this list, I didn't really have a true appreciation for. And these are popular bands that, I mean, that most metalheads would just assume everyone has already heard. And
Right.
and I think really for me, I found a lot of music, like you said before, I found a lot of music that I will listen to forever. Which I'm 38 years old. I hate to sound like a boomer or whatever, but newer metal just isn't doing it for me most of the time. There's exceptions, and we've reacted to some of them on this channel. But being able to kind of go back in time at a lot of bands that I hadn't heard or listened to before, or really given time of day, been really important for me, and really given me, like, has re-sparked my, like, this channel and this journey has really re-sparked my interest in really like devouring new music again, which I didn't really have before we started all this. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I read this or heard this somewhere, but a lot of people say like the music that you listen to for your whole life is kind of what you got in high school. So it's like whatever you listen to in high school around that time, that's the music that you're going to take with you. That's always going to be your stuff. And to a large degree, that's accurate for me, right? Like I look at my what I call my lifelong playlist, like my 3,000 songs that I have on Spotify, and a lot of that was shit that I was jamming when I was in high school. And so to Dave's point, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on what I knew I liked, but I also when we did Megadeth, I was like, oh, like we listened to Rust in Peace. That's like a 9 on our scale. Like that's a top tier album. I never thought in my brain ever I would give Megadeth like a top tier score like that. And so, and I don't know, for whatever reason, like bands like Maiden and Priest and those bands, I always was like, well, I don't know. They're old and not really my thing, but I'm also a huge Sabbath fan, which is also in the same time frame, right? So I think it's just, I don't know if it's just human nature or what, but like you just, if you didn't listen to it, if you weren't exposed to it then, it must not be good, and so you move on with your life and you kind of close it off, right? And I was very much like that. I know some people aren't either or. I'm very either or. Like for me, like if you're a Metallica fan, you can't listen to Megadeth, right? Like we used to have this guy that we worked with that was a big Megadeth fan, so we always argued about it, right? And for me, it was like you could never be both. But now, like going through this journey, I mean, I feel so stupid, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, in a good way, right? Because I'm like, dude, how did I miss out on so many of these albums for so long? I could have had 20 plus years of listening to some of these albums that I think are classics right now. And fortunately, we found them now. We get to listen to them now for the next 20, 30, 40 years if we're lucky, right? Um, but I think what it's taught me is just like, don't be so quick to just dismiss something, right? Like, give it a spin because you never know. This is dramatic, but it might change your life. Like, there's a couple albums on here that, I mean, look, it hasn't changed my life dramatically, but like, I am willing to go deeper into their catalog now, and these are bands that I would never, ever would have thought I would have listened to. So, I think for me, the key takeaway is just like open up your brain, quit being so narrow minded, and just listen to the fucking music, dude. Like at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? You listen to Venom, like yeah, look, that was pretty
Whoa,
terrible.
whoa,
I
whoa,
get it,
whoa,
but
whoa.
like at least I can say I've listened to that album now, and I can have an honest opinion about it versus being like
Wrong one.
Judas Priest, man. They suck. Before I even listen to it, that's how I would be. I'd be like, whatever. Now I can have an honest opinion about it.
Yep.
So
Go ahead,
open up
Adrian.
your brain, people. Open up your mind.
So I definitely think it showed me that the different genres or subgenres of metal that I do like and don't like. And similar to Josh, it showed me that just because it's old, really old, doesn't mean that it's not worth my time. It doesn't mean that some of that
By the way,
that
really old means a lot of this stuff is the same age as Jason. I just wanted to point that out.
yeah. A lot of it is definitely worth our time, and it stands the test of time, right? Um, and I think that's good. There were a lot of albums on this list that I'd never listened to that were always on the back burner. There are those, if you're a metalhead or you're a guitarist, you should be familiar with this album. And some of those kind of came and went, and they weren't what I was hoping they'd be. And then there were some bands that I would never give a chance. Where I was when I finally fucking heard them, they I'm sold on them completely. Um, so yeah, no, I think this was a very interesting project. It's a very, very. How long have we been doing it? When did we start it?
It's been about 18 months or so, maybe
Yeah.
close to
Yeah.
2 years.
But
Yeah.
so honestly, before Spotify, I listened to the same fucking shit for like 10 years straight. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's from high school, just same shit. And it was about time as a former 35-year-old when we started this, now 36. It was about fucking time that I do this. That I, at least, as you said, Josh, have an opinion on these bands and albums that I've never given a chance, that I should have given a chance ages ago. Yeah.
All right. So overall, I would say that this was a very fun experiment. I did my best to give every album a clean slate, to judge it the best that I could on the merits of your musicianship and the vocals.
Now,
And it
Jason,
op-
I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize, but can you give a little bit of background as to like you coming into this, because you of the four of us are the least metalhead here. So could you give us a little bit of background about like you and what brought you what brought you here?
okay. So I would say that I fall into this category of I I pretty much kind of found metal when everybody was kind of in this transition period. Like I was too young for Maiden and Priest, and I was not into Sabbath because I wasn't around any of that stuff. And as I started to get into metal, is when there was this, I don't know, this it was just before the Black Album comes out, and there's this pocket of hair bands and like Poison and stuff like that, and that kind of music, which was fine, but it wasn't what I wanted. And to what everybody's kind of said, the music you listen to is what you end up in with high school, which is exactly this. You know, Metallica, Pantera. You know, these things that were just in this moment. Uh, and so going back to this, I didn't expect to like much. And if you've been following along, I've been very meh on a big portion of it, and it's just because as much as I try to take in, say, certain vocal styles, I just can't get over some of the vocal styles.
Mm.
But back to this, this general thoughts is I would say that on this, this trip that we did, it opened my eyes to a few albums that I had kind of passed judgment on in the past that I might, I might have been correct big picture for the band and their catalog, as far as maybe not liking them, but going through the list and being forced into listening to multiple albums, because there's a few bands on here that had multiple albums. Uh, you run into these ones that are they're absolute bangers, just absolute bangers, and that I still listen to today, or almost every day, or anytime I turn on Spotify. And that's all I really wanted out of this. It's all I wanted when we set forth on this metalhead's journey.
Jason, do you feel like you have more appreciation today for metal in general?
Yes, especially for I would say the '80s. because in the '80s I was in more like southern rock, and then found this, like I said, as like a pocket of time in between. So your fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, and then you stumble into Metallica, and then the Black Album drops, and everything changes.
So, like for
Yeah.
you, metal kind of started early '90s,
Correct. Well, yeah, late '80s, late '80s.
late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah, I don't mean to dwell on Jason. It's just, again, if you guys have followed along with the journey, we joke with Jason a lot about like, hey, maybe you're just not a metal fan, right? Like, and we talk about things like that album is perfectly fine. Like, look, those are Jasonisms that, like, I feel like we've dragged Jason into this thing kicking and screaming. And my biggest hope for anybody here is that we at least gave Jason something that was worth his time over these 50 albums. Like, I hope he came out of here, Jason, you can tell me if you did or not, but I hope he came out of here with like at least
4 or 5.
At least 5 to 6, maybe 7 new albums that you can come out of here with and be like, I didn't know that existed, and I love it.
Absolutely.
So I think, look, ultimately, I think that's mission accomplished for sure, right? And look, to throw Jason a bone here and to let like a lot of you guys know what's coming up in the future for us, we do have actually a couple of other lists created for us. We actually have a series of lists that we're going to do. We're going to rotate them. So we got like the big 3 of prog metal bands we're going to do. So that's Dream Theater, Fates Warning. Oh, who's the other 4?
Symphony X.
Symphony X. My apologies. Symphony X, Fates Warning, Dream Theater, and Queensryche. Yeah. So we're gonna rotate through those. We're gonna do a top 20 new metal in metal list. We're gonna do a top 20 hair metal bands, for Jason, we're gonna do top 20 rock. Okay.
Yeah. Classic rock mostly. Yeah.
Classic rock.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. It's supposed to be a metalhead's journey. Look, man, rock influences metal, baby. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it.
We're
for
the
Jason.
metalheads on the journey.
Yeah. So we're gonna do it for Jason there. So all right. Well, hey, I'm glad. It sounds like we all took away a lot of good stuff from the list here. I'm glad we did. And let's get into a couple of things here. I just want to talk about a couple of categories here that actually, excuse me, Dave, I want to go into the analytics of the list here. So what we're going to do here, we're going to share like what the original top 10 was, and then we're going to share what the show's top 10 was. And then Dave's going to share some analytics about each one of us going forward as well.
Okay. So the original, as I compiled the list, top 10, and I'll actually throw a link in the description for the original list. If anybody wants to go on their own journey of some of these albums, I'll put the list in the description, a link to it so you can access that.
Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. So number 10, Dio's Holy Diver. Number 9, Judas Priest's Painkiller. Number 8 was Iron Maiden's Power Slave. Number 7 was Slayer's Rain in Blood. Number 6 was Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. Number 5 was Megadeth's Rust in Peace. Number 4 was Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast. Number 3 was Metallica's Ride the Lightning. Number 2 was Black Sabbath's Paranoid. And number 1 was Metallica's Master of Puppets.
It's a pretty damn good list.
So that was the top 10 as it was originally created that we went through. So our reordered top 10.
Our metalhead journey top 10.
Yeah, now this is top 10 as a group, as a unit, because we all individually scored all these.
Suck my unit.
You'll notice a bit of bias here, and unsurprising. So number 10, we have Blizzard of Oz. Number 9, Death's Symbolic. Number 8, Number of the Beast. Number 7, Death's Human.
Shit.
Number 6, Judas Priest Painkiller.
Yeah.
Number 5, Queensryche Operation Mindcrime.
Ooh.
Number 4, Black Sabbath Paranoid. Number 3, and here's where this starts happening. Number 3, Injustice for All from Metallica. Number 2, Ride the Lightning from Metallica. And number 1, Master of Puppets from Metallica. I get it.
Hey,
It's a little boring.
wrong.
Prove me
wrong.
Okay, so I thought it'd be a little bit fun here. We'll just kind of keep going through these analytics, rapid fire style. So the top 5 albums individually. Now this includes every album on the list. This isn't any exclusions here. Adrian, your top 5 were 1, 2, 3, 4, was Sound of Perseverance, Symbolic, Human, Master of Puppets, and Paranoid.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
Josh, your top 5 from 5 to 1: Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, Paranoid, and Justice for All, and Master of Reality.
Oh.
That's right.
My top 5: Rust in Peace, Death's Human, Ride the Lightning, Symbolic, and Master of Puppets. Not really a lot of surprises here. Jason, top 5: Painkiller, Alice in Chains, Dirt, Ride the Lightning, and Justice for All, Master of Puppets. Now, when I put
I'm surprised Vulgar Display didn't make it up there.
it was number 6.
I think
It was number 6.
number 6. Yeah.
So
I was gonna say it's got to be right there.
that top 5, before we get into the bottom stuff and get all negative, I thought when I did the top 5s for each, I was like, those are all albums that I know we were kind of familiar with, at least partially. So it's not as fun. So these top 5, these top 5 are 5 that I knew you guys had confirmed with me, had not heard prior to doing this list. So this is a little bit more interesting.
And you're going to give this to us in 5 to 1, right?
5 to 1, yes. Adrian, your top 5 new albums are Heaven and Hell, The Years of Decay. That's including your new score, your new updated score for that record. Number 3.
That's from Overkill.
That's from Overkill. Iron Maiden's self-titled album. Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And Operation Mindcrime.
Nice.
Josh, your top 5 new albums: Painkiller, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Number of the Beast, Dream Theater's Images and Words, and number 1, Operation Mindcrime.
Nice.
My top 5 I hadn't heard before. Number 5, Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 1. Iron Maiden, self-titled. Judas Priest, Painkiller. Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. That's 3 for 3 so far on that record.
Jason ain't going to live up to it.
Spoilers: Jason doesn't have it in his top 5.
Fucking album sucked.
Jason, you say that album is your number 10. It's your number 10 top new album. But Jason, your top 5 new albums are Dio's Holy Diver, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance,
Whoa.
Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast at number 2, and number 1 by a country mile, Judas Priest, Painkiller.
Good job, Fossil. Way to be.
So just some other little tidbits here. We all had Painkiller in our top 10 on new albums. We all had Number of the Beast, I believe. Actually, no. Sorry. We all had Holy Diver, surprisingly. And we all had Operation Mindcrime. Jason just barely.
Yeah.
Now, the bad albums. So if you're fans of these, I apologize. Don't downvote the video, please. Our bottom 5 as a group, all right, is Opeth Blackwater Park. I cringe just saying that. I scored that album pretty decently, but it was overridden.
It's not good.
That album's terrible, dude.
Oh no. Fourth worst is The Sad Wings of Destiny by Judas Priest.
Dude, Sad Wings of Adrian.
Speaking of terrible, holy shit.
It gets worse, gentlemen. The third worst album that we did is Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. That's an Emperor record. We were not fans of that. Second worst, Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel. We were not fans of that. And look, the king on Shit Mountain is Venom's Welcome to Hell. We were not fans of that record, except Jason. He actually gave that a recommend.
Obviously, you guys just don't like metal.
We're not heavy enough.
Dude, Dude, full transparency, I listened to that album today, and I would like to change my score.
To lower.
I thought it was worse.
All right.
Like a negative 10.
All right, let's get through these real quick. The bottom 5 for each of us individually, in order from 5 to 1. Adrian, Blackwater Park, Alice in Chains, Dirt, Blind Guardians, Nightfall in Middle Earth.
What?
I know that's so dumb.
That's
Altars
terrible.
of Madness by Morbid Angel and Venom, Welcome to Hell. Josh, Sad Wings of Destiny, Tools Lateralis, idiot. Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk, Altars of Madness, and Welcome to Hell. Those are pretty much going to be the same for me, you, and Adrian. Me,
Y'all are
I
dumb.
had Sad Wings of Destiny, Alice in Chains, Dirt, because I'm smart. Altars of Madness, Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk, and Welcome to Hell. So basically the same thing. Jason, so surprised. His number 5 least rated album is Bonded by Blood by Exodus. That album is a banger. His 4th worst is Abigail
What?
by King Diamond.
King Diamond.
That album is also a banger album.
I agree.
That's what I got to revisit, man, big time.
Yeah.
Anthrax is Among the Living is his 3rd from the bottom. That album is it's all right. It's all right. Number 2, Sepultura's Beneath the Remains, another banger record. I love that record.
Nope.
Number 1, Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel. So
Yeah. So it sounds like Morbid Angel is definitely probably. Because I think that was like our second.
That was
all of us, wasn't it?
That was second. The only reason Venom was rated worse is
all of
because
us.
we gave it like zeros or whatever. We hated it. But like
Yeah.
I think realistically, Altars of Madness, even though it didn't technically become our worst album, in spirit, I think we all didn't like it. So
Damn.
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah,
it.
it's not
That's
a
it
good
for the
one.
analytics.
All right.
Like I said, I'll have a link to this stuff posted if you're curious.
Hey,
All right. Well, hey, let's get into what did you guys find was like the most surprising thing? This doesn't have to be an album. This just can be anything from the list. Jason, you want to go first?
Sure. And I'm gonna reference an album. Most surprising, Judas Priest Painkiller. I listened to at least one song from that album every single time I open Spotify. I unfairly judge other albums against it, which I probably shouldn't do, but I can't help myself. It's easily the best non-metallic album on this list,
Wow.
and I would
Damn.
say that it is.
Is that how Jason had it scored?
I was gonna ask Jason if you won in the moment on record. Want to update your score? You're at an 8.4. It's up to you.
I feel like my score is pretty solid.
Is that
but
his best non-Metallica score?
Yeah, when it went through best new, that's his number 1.
Okay. Okay.
I would say that this was the whole reason why we do the journey, and of all of the stuff that we kind of went through that I had never gone through. I did not have a lot of promise going into this album because we had one or two before this one were on the list that I was very ho hum
Right.
about. They
Yeah.
were okay, this and that, but this one just blew my doors off. This is a great fucking album. Anybody that has never tried Judas Priest, I would recommend this album above all.
Start here first, please.
Yes,
Don't do Sad Wings of Destiny because it is sad.
sad.
Very sad.
Awesome. Adrian, you want to go?
Sure. I guess I'm gonna have to say you gotta stick with the theme here of bands, but it's gonna be Queensryche.
Yep.
Specifically the album Operation Mindcrime. I'm not a. I think concept albums are stupid. I'm not into what is this type of metal called? Help me out here, Dave. Progressive metal. I'm just not really into it a whole lot, but this album, everything about it does it for me. The band and God damn, Jeff Tate's singing and vocals are just the fucking shit, man.
Next
And
level.
this is a band, yeah. This is a band also that can have, you know, a song that you don't even realize there's not a guitar solo in it. Just because of how interesting everything that's going on is. It's such a good album. Actually, since we're changing scores, Dave, what's my score for Operation Mindcrime?
You are at an 8.7. Josh, you're at a 9. I'm at a 9.2. So Jason is a 6.8.
What?
Fuck, man. Yeah, I mean that's
Adrian, join us in the 9s.
Let's go. Yeah, okay. So sold 9.
Boom.
All right.
That's a forever. That's a forever album for me, and the only reason I have not ventured into more Queensryche is because I know we're gonna do that as a group. But otherwise, it would have been done already.
I have also purposefully held back from Queensryche as well because of that reason.
Me too. Me too.
Dude, what a great album, man! What a great album. And like it was so funny because we did that reaction, and that was like really our first big reaction that we did on the channel. Like it got a lot of views for I Don't Believe in Love.
Yeah.
And dude, so much hate on that video, mostly for me because I talked about the lyrics and everything. But look, when we did the reaction, we had no idea what the story for the album.
We didn't even really know it was a concept album. We just kind of picked that song because we knew it was from the record.
Yeah. And then, as it turns out, like, man, holy shit! Like, what a great album!
It was a great album, and and this is not a slight. That's not even the best song on the record.
No,
I don't even know if that's a top 5 song on the record, personally.
There were two other things that surprised me before we move on from it. I am surprised that King Diamond and the things that he's been associated with, Merciful Fate. Dude, it's legit. They are so that's for damn sure. And also shockingly, Dio, I think Dio's era of Black Sabbath, of what I've heard of it, it is very comparable to Ozzy's era. Even the Rainbow album, god damn it just fucking ruled.
Adrian read my notes.
So yeah, those are to me. Dio was like, no, that's like that's bargain brand Ozzy, and not really interested in what this old guy's done in the past, whatever. But man, he's the real deal, big time. So
nice,
yeah.
So I'll go because I did have a note here for myself to bring up Dio, the man. And he's on our album as the lead singer. He's on our list on 3 different albums for 3 different groups,
3 different bands, which is like wild. I mean, it's Dio, it's Black Sabbath, and Rainbow.
Yeah.
And I mean, crazy.
And
what is the common denominator there?
Yeah, it's Ronnie. And all of these are relatively high marks on our record, on our list. So Heaven and Hell, it's 22. Rainbow is number 14, and Dio's album is 10. Like, he's on the top half of this list amongst all the other heavy hitters. And I think he is the highlight for most of what he's a part of. Extremely talented singer, clearly. And somebody I wasn't overly familiar with. Everybody's gonna laugh and make fun of me. The song I knew him from. I mean, I knew of Holy Diver, but I mainly knew him from the Tenacious D song.
At the time, it's time to go.
Like I just wasn't.
Or are you talking about Kickapoo?
Kickapoo.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I wasn't overly. I know. Look, you can make fun of me in the comments, whatever, if anybody watches this. But like, I just wasn't overly familiar with Dio. Like, I didn't grow up listening to those bands or whatever. I listened to other stuff. So Dio was a surprise for me. And I gotta echo what Adrian said in terms of Queensryche as well. I am a pretty big prog fan, but I dabbled more into Dream Theater, and I knew of Queensryche because of that, but I just never I don't know why, I just never listened to them at all. But my big takeaway for me here was Judas Priest, and specifically Painkiller. That is legitimately like that's one of the best metal albums of all time. Like that is such a great record, and just like every song is just so good, and Halford is just excellent on vocals. So
No skippers.
yeah, I mean, actually, all three of the bands that I brought up, the vocalists were just super hard carrying a lot of stuff. Not hard carrying. The music is obviously really good too, but you know what I mean. Excellent vocalists.
Yeah, for me, I've got kind of two big surprises. One, first for me is Iron Maiden. This was a band that I saw live, and I'm embarrassed to say this. I didn't pay attention to them. I saw them at an Ozfest. They were opening for Sabbath, and I didn't pay attention because I'm like, Iron Maiden, who cares? Now look, take Power Slave, throw it away. It is not good. Okay?
Nope.
But
Absolute
they're
trash.
self-titled, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and Number of the Beast. Dude, those are legendary records, especially Number of the Beast and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Dude, legendary records, the riffs and everything on those records. Like, I didn't know that Iron Maiden wrote riffs like that. Again, here you go, Metalhead's journey. That's why we're doing this, right? Because we're trying to expose ourselves to this stuff. I feel like a fucking moron that we haven't done that. And I think we should do a full-on Iron Maiden's Metalhead's journey. They have like 18 records. I think we should do them all, personally. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Jason, I'm going to need you to vote yes, though, for that.
Check
look,
Killers out when you get a chance.
Yeah. The biggest surprise for me, though, and look, this comes from really just trying to troll Dave for a number of years. I knew Dave was a Dream Theater fan. And look, I had heard some Dream Theater over the years, but I am a self-professed booger-eating moron. Like, I like metal that is 4/4 time signature. I like to be able to headbang to it. And I feel like if I have to think about it, I'm not super interested in it. So when Images and Words came up, admittedly, I was not really looking forward to it. Bro, this album blew my fucking mind. Like, I listen to Images Words, at least a song from it, probably a couple times a week. You know, and it's not like Pull Me Under or anything like that. Like, I'm listening to some of the tracks that I feel like are probably like, you know, I don't know if you consider them deep cuts, I guess, necessarily, but I mean, I like Pull Me Under is the big song from the album, but I'm talking about like, for me, Another Day, big time song. That's got the metal saxophone in it. But I love the last song, Learning to Live. It's a kind of like a little mashup of Wait for Sleep. Like you have that like that leads into that. Bro, what a great album. James LaBrie, fucking vocals on that album. I mean, next level. John Petrucci, obviously the guitar playing on the album is just legendary. I couldn't believe, and it hurt my heart to tell Dave how much I love that album. And I kept it secret until we got to the show. But man, it was that's an all-timer. I was blown away by that record, and I can't wait to do some more Dream Theater on the upcoming Big Four of Prague.
Dave, if you want, we can take a second. You can wipe the tears, joy from your face.
Oh, it's a good thing I'm not standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing you got this recorded.
Yeah, Dave's banging against the table right now. Okay, hey, that's enough of the good shit. All right, let's get into the disappointing. What was a band or an album or a thing that was the most disappointing for you?
So
Adrian, you want to go?
Oh,
good.
I was going to pop in real quick because I had them on something that I was a pleasant surprise, and I brought up Judas Priest. That was specifically Painkiller. but Judas Priest as a band minus Painkiller, like if Painkiller would not have been on this list for whatever reason, Judas Priest for me would easily be the biggest disappointment, and they kind of are, because I think Painkiller is easily their best record. And honestly, while like Screaming for Vengeance is absolutely fine of an album, it's fine. Basically, I could completely I could pretty much leave all the other Judas Priest records, and I would be completely fine with that.
I feel like they'd be a really good greatest hits band, right? Because you go back to like Stained Class as an example. They have like Beyond the Realms of Death on that.
Yeah.
Classic song. Love it. Rest of the album, meh.
I think Exploder or Exciter is like the first song. Exciter.
That's a good one.
That's the first song. Like that's a good point, Josh. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of angry Priest fans, but like Priest is like the definition of complete hit or miss for me, and it's not just hit or miss on songs. It's almost like hit or miss on albums. Like the albums that are good are like I said, Screaming for Vengeance is good, but until Painkiller, like until we got to Painkiller, like I was basically dreading. I got to the point where I was like dreading every Priest album that was on this list because it just wasn't what I was expecting. I was immediately like,
Sad Wings of Destiny is like in our bottom 5 for everybody, right?
Yeah. Yes. And
that's what makes. I think that's what makes Painkiller so crazy, because I don't think any of us were expecting anything when we got to Painkiller.
No.
Yeah. By that point, today's point, we were dreading it. We were just like, "Fuck, man! All right, let's get through this so we can get to the next."
We're gonna need Painkillers to get through this album.
Yeah.
And then by a fate, we ended up having like 3 weeks where we had to stay with this album, and I was like,
because of scheduling conflicts.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the greatest 3 weeks ever.
I think literally you were raising your score like every time I talked to you. You're like, dude, I just keep going up. Like every time I rescore this, it's getting better and better and better.
Jace is walking around the house. He's walking around the house, be like, "Invaders."
That's a different album. But yeah, that Judas Priest as a whole minus Painkiller would be my biggest disappointment of this list.
Want me to go, or you want to go?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. I would say that my biggest, in one respect, my biggest disappointment is that I didn't like or love more of the catalog of the top 50. And I'm going to single out 2 that ended up in the bottom of my group. And I'm not specifically just going to trash Sepultura or Morbid Angel, but I knew of the bands back in high school. I knew of their sound because I had friends that listened to them. I just never listened to them. Like I heard a snippet here and a snippet there, and I was like, that's shit. I'm never gonna listen to that crap. And so when we started this, I saw the list and I was like, well, these 2 bands are on this list. Clean slate, going in. Here we go. And I wrote it down here for the Sepultura Beneath the
Remains.
The first 50 seconds of the opening track are beautiful. Fucking, it's absolutely fantastic. Not even absolutely fine. I'm just like, okay, I was wrong. And then, yeah, the rest of it happened, and it's fucking garbage. And I'm disappointed.
Wow.
And I don't know if I'm just disappointed in them, because I don't want to say that, because I know people like them. And look, like I know Dave likes Sepultura much more than me. I'm just disappointed that given all the time that spanned from the time that I knew of these bands, me actually giving them the chance, that I didn't like them more. So I'm not really disappointed in the bands. I'm just kind of disappointed that over that span of time, I didn't enjoy them more.
Fair enough.
I'll go ahead and go. So I think one of my biggest disappointments is some omissions on this list. The problem with this is it's fucking subjective, right?
Yeah.
as opposed to this list being as, I mean, it's, it's not very of a subjective list, really. I mean, it's as unsubjective as it could possibly be, I guess, right? Um, or unbiased, I mean. So yeah, I do to name an album or two just right off the bat. I mean, Death's Individual Thought Patterns, Toxicity from System of a Down. I
There
mean
wasn't
that
enough death on the list already.
I mean, dude, did you see how much Judas Priest and Iron Maiden there was? Come on, man. Uh, I think killing is my business should have been on this list in place of Rust in Peace. Get the fuck out of here, Rust in Peace.
Nah, bro. Super
Yes.
Colliders.
Dude,
Super
that
Colliders.
has no business being on the list. I would say Machine Head's The Blackening. I mean, I know maybe. I mean, I don't think it's Machine Head's best record, but like I just think general consensus, Machine Head's The Blackening could have been in the bottom 5 on this list.
I got onto the Locusts for me, for as far as Machine Head goes. But yeah. Anyway, so that said, there were bands like Tool. Just as an example, that I was like, okay, I'm going to give these guys a fair shot. And I mean, I mostly just validated feelings I've had for them beforehand when listening to Tools. It's not for me. I find it, as I mentioned before, I was not into progressive metal, so I don't vibe with it, right? So I would say, in agreement with Jason, things that I felt like I maybe wanted to get into: Judas Priest, as Dave said, and even some Iron Maiden. Like Iron Maiden was mostly good, but I mean, there were songs about them, and even an entire album called Power Slave that it's just like, man, what a disappointment. When they're coming in hot after Seventh Son, and obviously I really liked their first album, which damn, I'm gonna need to revisit that. So that there's similar disappointments like that. So yeah, I mean that's basically where I'm at.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, obviously echoing the Judas Priest part of it, I was really anticipating Judas Priest showing up big for us, and outside of Painkiller, it was a really big letdown. But for me, the biggest disappointment I had for the list, me and Dave, we're resident big power metal guys here. We even had a show, Half Hour of Power, where we were going through like a top power metal albums list, which we are going to get back to. It's going to happen. But I was really excited to see Helloween show up on this list, Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 1 and Part 2. And for a lot of folks, Part 2 is rated, and on the list that they put together, using the same parameters as we use for this list, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2 is listed as the #1 power metal album of all time. So going into that, I was really excited. Part 1, great. I love
very,
Part 1.
very good.
Yeah, Part 2 was a super big letdown for me. Outside of, I believe it's Fly Eagle Fly, or is it Eagle? That's right?
Yeah. The opening track, Eagle Fly Free. I think it's the opening track.
Eagle Fly Free. Outside of that track, I don't know. I need to go back to it. I just don't get it. It was a big letdown for me. I went into that super amped up because I love power metal, and that album just did not deliver for me. So I'm going to go back. I'm committed. I'm going to go back and check it out. But for now, that is definitely the biggest disappointment for me because I thought that was going to be a top 10 record for me.
Agreed.
So, okay. Hey, last exercise here for the show tonight. We thought it would be fun to put together a super group of musicians that we would want to see kind of put together from all the artists that are here. So here's the deal. It needs to be a vocalist, 2 guitar players, a bassist, and a drummer. And look, I mean, there's no like this and that. Like you can't have Hetfield doing vocals and rhythm guitars and all that stuff. You're picking a vocalist based on their merit. So look, if you like Hetfield's vocals, pick him as your vocalist. But you got to pick somebody else for rhythm guitars.
All right, I'll go first. I got my list ready to go. I think I got a pretty good. I had a plan when I was building this, right? And so in my mind, all of these guys are going to be in their prime of their career. I tried to build a group that I think would actually produce like very interesting music. So on drums, I have Richard Christie, who played drums on the Sound of Perseverance. a highly acclaimed drummer. He's excellent on that record. Bass, I got Tom Araya from Slayer.
There you go.
I think his bass work is underappreciated and often barely audible. But
Yeah.
but I do think his bass work is good. And in my mind, him as a backing vocalist, like for a live part of this band, if this dream band I have would play live, I think would be really really entertaining. Rhythm guitar, I feel like I can't build my goal was obviously a metal band. I can't build a metal band and not have James Hetfield on rhythm guitar, the rhythm god himself, pumping out these riffs. And someone that is calls James Hetfield an influence and plays lead guitar, I had to include John Petrucci from Dream Theater on lead guitar here. I really would be curious to hear what John would do on top of some James Hetfield riffs on lead. Just really embarrassing Kirk Hammett would be very satisfying for me. I'm joking, obviously, but I think it would be really entertaining.
Are
No.
you really?
No. And lead singer, I had plenty of fantastic singers to choose from. I had different vocal directions to choose from, and I felt like with James potentially adding some backing vocals, Tom Araya adding some backing vocals on bass, those are two gruff, rough sounding backup vocalists. So I wanted somebody to kind of cut through that, and I chose Bruce Dickinson as my lead singer to give that soaring vocalist. And yeah, man, I would be super stoked if this supergroup had ever formed in the history of time.
All right, I'll jump in. I did two here because as I started building the list, I was like, this is obviously like the fan in me, but like just like Josh's fan band, I would have Ozzy on vocals. I'd have Hetfield on guitar, on rhythms. I'd have Randy Rhoads on leads. I'd have Geezer Butler on bass, and I'd have Vinnie Paul on drums. Look, I'd be all about that band. But I did want to take the exercise for I think what it is, and just kind of trying to put together what I think would be a really cool super group and be a little bit different, right? So, kind of doing something a little bit different here, starting with what I would really put forth as my list. I'd have Steve Harris on bass, because not just his bass playing in Iron Maiden, but also he's a primary songwriter for the band as well. So I think you get a lot of those compositions from Steve Harris as well, which would be really good. On drums here, I'd have Danny Carey from Tool. Look, while I'm not the biggest Tool fan in the history of time, I mean, unmistakable talent. The guy is a fucking monster on drums. And I think he could, I mean, you've seen him play in live videos with bands like Rush, things like that. So I think he could play multiple styles.
That's a good call. That's a really good call.
Guitar playing for me, from a lead standpoint, I have to agree with Dave. It hurts my heart to do it, but John Petrucci, I mean, the guy can play. He can come up with some really nasty riffs, but also just a great lead player. For my rhythm player, I'm going to go with Hank Sherman from Merciful Fate.
Oh, good call,
dude. I mean, just some great riffs, some all-time great riffs, and I mean that dude's. I think he's just really underappreciated.
Man, he could do some leads too that are really good.
Yeah, and vocals, I want to go a little bit off the beaten path. I was toggling between two guys, but I think I'm going to go with Hansi Kirsch from
Blind Guardian.
Blind Guardian. Yeah. Love the vocals in Blind Guardian. Again, I'm a big power metal guy, so I like the vocals he brings to that. He's got really good cleans, but he's got some borderline kind of aggressive vocals in there that are good. No screams, but he's got good cleans and some aggressive cleans as well.
That's a very good setup, Josh. I would enjoy that.
I'll go next. I had issues trying to go too deep into this because I kept wanting a certain sound. So with drums, I could not find the drummer that I was looking for. So I ended up having to go with my backup plan, which is Vinnie Paul. I want to rep. I want to maintain a certain heaviness. Bass player Cliff Burton. Why?
Oh,
Because we never got to see what it would look like further down the road.
there you go.
That's a good call.
I get my two
Good
guitarists.
songwriter too.
My two guitarists are for the sound that I want, and that's Scott Ian for Anthrax for songwriting purposes,
Huh?
and Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest,
There you
because
go.
some of the best stuff that I took away from a lot of the Priest stuff was a lot of the work that was done in the mid sections of the songs. Uh, the toughest part I had was singer, and I had two that I kind of went back and forth with. But I'm gonna go with one that I would have never thought that I would come up with, and that would be Joey Belladonna. But I want
Oh,
I want Joey Belladonna of the last two albums, For All Kings and Worship.
but they're not on the list, bro. This is just among
I
the
know.
living Joey Belladonna.
I know. No, I want my Joey Belladonna.
Okay. Look, the fact that you even know his name, I'm gonna let you have it.
Dude, look, I mean, you busted out all those names, dude. I'm proud of you, man. Like,
I
legitimately.
All right. So here's my super group. Drums, Mike Portnoy. Well, that's the starting point. To me, this is I don't know, a not too heavy, but possibly progressive metal band. So yeah, on drums, Mike Portnoy. On bass, Steve Harris. And you're going to notice a lot of common themes here. On rhythm guitar, James Hetfield.
There you
On
go.
lead guitar, Randy Rhoads.
My man.
And as singer, come on, guys, what are we doing here? Jeff Tate, obviously.
Yeah. That was the second person that I was toggling between was Jeff Tate. I think it's a great choice.
Yeah, I also had Jeff Tate in my top three. I had Jeff Tate, I had James LeBrie, and I had I had Bruce Dickinson. I just didn't pick James because I already had John Petrucci. So I did strongly consider Jeff Tate as well. So
I also had Rob Halford.
There you go.
Rob Halford would be a good one too.
I think Jeff Tate, I know Jason's not like the biggest fan there, but I think that's another person you could put in biggest surprise. Like, I think when we did a lot of reactions to Queensryche after I Don't Believe in Love, and we did some live reactions.
God, that dude is a monster.
Bro, unbelievable how good he is live. So I can't wait to get into more Queensryche records for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Look, the issue with me and Queensryche is that they were in that pocket of me wanting something else.
Amen.
They just
Don't say anything bad about Queensryche, dude. The Queensryche fans will come get you.
Yeah,
that's right. Bring the hate.
Yeah. Well, hey, man. I'm glad we got to do the recap show here. We finished the top 50 list. Dude, how fun was that? Like, I had a blast. It was so fun getting to listen to those albums.
It's legit.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I legitimately just on this list, I probably found at least 10 albums that I can just add to my repertoire, and that's not even good, accounting for the fact that I can deep dive into those bands and potentially find more like gold that I can add to my lists. Yeah, man, I'm super thankful. And hey, look, not to get sappy, I'm glad I could do it with a great group of guys, man. It was fun.
Yeah, man. For
Hey,
sure.
look, to kind of piggyback on what Dave just said, like, I didn't have Spotify until we started this list, and so as what I've been doing is I've only been adding songs to my liked list if we listen to them from the show, and so my Spotify liked list is at about 100 and something songs. So
There we go. I can't wait to see
Those are great
Jason's
songs.
Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year.
me
Yeah,
neither.
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be good.
That's a good call.
All right. Well, hey, I hope you guys liked the video here. If you did, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're putting out weekly metal content right now. We got metal reactions, metal reviews, metal time machines, metal brackets, and all kinds of other metal content. Hey, in the meantime, live long and prosper.
Take it easy, everybody.
See ya.
Later.